What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Peer Pleasure with Dewey Halpus on Equal Vision Records. I am Dewey, your host with the most, bringing you more great content week after week. This week is a big one, guys. This is actually a top 5 guest that I had on my list, and for some crazy reason, he reached out to me on his own before I reached out as a fan of the show, which blew my damn mind. I thought it was fake. Pretty much until the minute I got on the phone, months and months later, I thought I was being catfished beyond belief. Anyways, that man is Chino Moreno. Chino Moreno from the band Deftones, Team Sleep, Crosses, Palms. He's been all over the map, and I have been a Deftones fan since the first record came out. I made my dad go help me buy the record at the store, and because of course I didn't have any money, I was so young, but buy the record and buy a windbreaker so I could look like Chino in the video. Anyways, I tell him all this on the episode, but here's the story. So real quick, I'm on Instagram one night. It's late at night. I get a request that comes through with a new message from someone you don't follow, and it says Chino W. Moreno, and I was like, Chino from Deftones. Yeah, right. Click on it. It opens up. All it says is, I live in Portland and I want to talk to you. This was, to say the least, this was shocking. So I was like, this is a scam. There's no way. But why would someone, impersonate Chino Moreno, on a private Instagram account and message me? Still, I thought I was being catfished. Anyway, I screenshot it and sent it to a couple buddies of mine that are friends with Chino, and they both said that is the Instagram they use for him. So I was like, okay, that makes more sense. So I write back. Chino responds and says, hey, I've been listening to the show for a while. I like your style, and I just thought it'd be cool to connect. So I was like, okay. And he said, so just text me, and he sends me his phone number. So I screenshot that and I send it to my buddies. And they said, that's Chino's phone number. So it's still, I thought I was being catfished. But I was a little more excited. I was like, cool, this is rad, And so as we were working out time to connect, he lives, one town over from me. And they're recording with Terry Date in Seattle. And they're going to Australia. So this is all before coronavirus. And so anyways, we work out a time to meet up between those two things. Then all of a sudden, coronavirus happens. It outbreaks in Lake Oswego, where he's at, right down the street from his house at his daughter's school. That's the first case in Oregon. A teacher got it. Absolute hell breaks loose. And this was in February, I believe, and we didn't end up chatting until June. So anyways, up until that entire point, I thought I was being catfished until I literally picked up the phone and Chino answered, and I told him, I was like, dude, I can't believe this is real. Like, this is so fucking crazy that someone I've been a fan of since the beginning is coming to me as a fan of the show to chat. It's incredibly inspiring to have one of your top 5 people reach out to you as a fan of what you're doing. And it's the first time that's happened, and it's fucking crazy. Anyways, to your guys' benefit now, you guys get to hear the episode. So Chino and I hooked up on the phone because we're still, they're still kind of in quarantine. Eventually we'll do a part 2 in person at his place, but for right now is over the phone. I had Chino record his audio on his end in his studio, so the sound should be pretty good. And I'm stoked to bring this to you guys. We did a little over 2 hours, and I felt really good about it. So anyways, thank you for coming back week after week. You guys are amazing. I'm so happy to be able to bring this episode to you. I've been super excited to get it done, and it is here. So let's get some business out of the way real quick, and then we'll jump in. So peerpleasurepodcast.com is the website. You can get on there for anything you need to know about the show, the team behind the show, show notes, anything. You want to send someone to see the show for the first time, send them there, because there's a player on there that has every single episode. They can just scroll through and see if there's anyone they like. But word of mouth is the best way to spread this show. So please continue doing that. If you want to get in touch with me, peerpleasurepod@gmail.com is the email. So guest ideas, comments, questions, just want to reach out and say hello, do that. I'm totally down for that. I always respond to my email, and I've been getting a lot of amazing messages from people listening to the show with very specific things, which lets me know you're listening. So, and like I say all the time, the fact that you guys spend an hour, 2 hours, if you listen to a couple episodes a week, maybe 3 hours of your time with me, I value that beyond belief. I mean, it's priceless. It's time is very precious, and I love that you guys spend it, listening to something that I'm putting out there for you. There's no better feeling than seeing the numbers and seeing how many people are listening, and getting on board. So thank you so much for that. All right, guys. So without further ado, let's get into my episode with Chino Moreno from Deftones.
Hello.
Chino.
What's up, man?
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Dude, I'm doing great.
Right
great.
on.
Did you get all your errands done?
I did. You have impeccable timing.
Dude, sweet.
Yeah, sorry for the runaround. I was literally nonstop today, but I'm cool now.
Rad. Dude, it's good to hear your voice, man. I this has been the strangest situation. I don't know if you're used to that, but when you sent me that message on Instagram, I've literally from that moment thought this might be the biggest catfish ever. Like it was a joke, like because it was so random and like very just like precise or concise, to where I was like, I almost didn't even check those requests on Instagram. Like I usually don't. And for some reason I did. And it was like, hey, I live in Portland. I want to talk to you. And I was like, I looked at the name and I was like, And then I clicked on it and it's like, it's probably super for like close family, blah, blah, blah. I was like, man, there's like 100 people on this or 170 people on this list. This is probably a scam.
That's funny. I didn't think about that when I sent the message. I literally was just caught up in a moment. Like I've been listening to your podcast for quite some time, and I know you asked me like how I heard about it, and I can't quite remember. I think it was like some podcasts they kind of lead you to other podcasts and other podcasts, and I just love like any sort of music, podcasts, and it's like to even if it's like musicians I don't even know about or their music or whatever. It's like I always find it interesting to like hear people talk about stuff, and yours in particularly, like just your humility. Like I was like, who is this guy? He's like, you just seem like a really genuine like conversationist, and I just like I've just been drawn to like every episode pretty much since then, and then I heard you talking about you lived in Portland, and I just moved here maybe almost a year ago or so. I was like, yeah, I should hit him up and see if we can get on the podcast together. And I didn't think about that. You might be like, really? Is this? Yeah. Why would he be hitting me up? You know what I mean? It's kind of fun.
It's the weirdest thing because like there's in the podcast, like when you start a podcast, like you have a list of people you want to talk to, right? Like you start a list, like here's the general idea of what I want to do. And these are the people like here's the master list of people I want to talk to. I've been a Deftones fan since 95 when the first record came out. Like awesome. That's what was so weird to me. It was like, I've been a fan of what you do for so long. And the fact that, I mean, and a band at your level, there's gatekeepers, right? Like which rightfully so. But that's kind of the adventure, is making it through the gatekeepers and kind of tracking people down and things like that, to where, but then you hit me up. I was like, there's no possible way this is real. And then,
that's funny.
Anyway, but the reason, and I appreciate the kind words, it means a lot to me. And I think the reasoning behind that is I'm just genuinely interested. If I want to talk to somebody, it's because I'm genuinely interested in what they have to say. And I'm interested in the human story. I'm interested in things being real. I've worked, in music, playing in music. I mean, there's so many people that have an idea of what and who you are that probably isn't even close to the truth. They meet Chino from the Deftones. They don't meet Chino Moreno, right? Like And that's something I like to do, is take somebody that may have that persona or have that aura around them of what people see from press and all that stuff, and kind of just strip it down to the real nuts and bolts, and makes everyone real.
Yeah. I mean, and that's what you seem to do. I mean, I think that's why I was sort of drawn to a lot of, what you do, is because you, like I said, even like, I would say probably a good majority of the people that you've interviewed, like I didn't know. I mean, not even like, I'm saying like not personally, but like not even really much about them or their music or what bands they're in or whatever. And, but you make it sort of interesting because you feel like you're just having a conversation with these people, and then it kind of makes me want to go like check out their music, because something they said or I don't know, just like the vibe that you kind of get from like what kind of person they are. It's like I'd be interested to hear what kind of music this person makes, So
Yeah.
So that you do a great job at that, and that's why I reached out to you.
Well, dude, thank you so much, and it really means a lot, and that's that's what fuels me, that kind of stuff, and I always say, like, if you want to know what someone does, go to Spotify or go buy the record and listen to it. But if you want to know who someone is, you can listen to my show or probably a bunch of other ones. So you don't remember how you came across my pocket. It probably just kind of said you may be a fan of this or.
Yeah, I want to say like one of the first ones I heard was it might have been it may have been Brian from Korn, or maybe did you do one with Aaron Harris ever?
No, I did one with Aaron Turner.
Okay, I did hear the Aaron Turner one, but I heard that one way later, I think.
Okay,
but so it must have been Brian. And when you were talking with him, you were saying, "Oh yeah, I talked with Taylor, and she was able to set this up." And I was like, "Oh, I talk to Taylor every day. I mean, she's my, sort of my day-to-day person at the management." So so then that's when it kind of like I was like, "Oh, okay," and then I just like I kind of went like I said, I went back and listened to like a lot of older episodes and stuff, and just like it's always interesting.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's very cool. So when you moved to Portland a year ago?
Yeah, I lived in Bend, Oregon, for about 6 years before I moved here, and before that, I was in Los Angeles for almost 10 years or so, and then I'm from Sacramento, so I was there at the beginning of my life. But yeah, I was in Bend for a while, and then we would always come over here to Portland, which is you probably know it's a few-hour drive. I don't know if you've ever been to Bend, but it's kind of like it's South Central Oregon. There's not much. It's surrounded by mountains, so there's tons of awesome stuff to do, like outdoorsy stuff, whatever, which I love. My wife, not so much. She doesn't like the snow. She doesn't like to snowboard, or she'll bike with me once in a while, but like not much. We would come out here to the city to go to Blazer games and just like RC shows or whatever, and she was like feeling like, and I agree with her. Like I just just kind of want to be closer to a city. I was kind of missing, just being able to go out and Bend, like everything closes at 10 at night, whatever. And although I don't mind that lifestyle, I think I have maybe a few more years before I get to that retiring type of lifestyle.
Yeah.
So I still have a place there, and my wife's parents still live there, and we have family there, her sister and my brother-in-law and like all their kids and stuff. So, and I have friends there. So I go back there every now and then, and I would love to, like I said, sort of quote unquote retire there at some point. But I came to the city to like go do stuff, and then like I got here and everything shut down. So
you moved to the actual city where it hit first.
Mm-hmm. Yo, and what's crazy is that I was actually over the last, I don't know, maybe 6 months or so, I've been going back and forth from to Seattle to Everett, where like the first stuff hit, like at the old folks place.
Yeah.
And like not actual there, but the studio where I was working at, Terry Date's house, is like literally like 10 minutes from there. It's pretty wild. So like I was like, I felt like when all this stuff started to come down, I kind of felt like I was in the epicenter of like like the two places that I've been going, like the most, and then LA too. I, bounced back and forth from there for a lot,
Yeah.
but yeah, man, it's kind of wild. It's been wild.
Dude, yeah, absolutely. It's been insane. And just seeing the effect on, I mean, oh my God, it's crazy. But you were ready to go to Australia too, and then like what, night before it gets canceled before you fly all the way there?
Yeah, literally, like I was packed, I had my bags packed, and I kind of felt like there may be a chance that it could get canceled, but I think even at that time, no one really knew how crazy it was going to get, so there was still like everything is as normal, and we planned on going, and I want to say that like it might have been right around the same time where like the NBA sort of like shut down and Tom Hanks, whatever, all that stuff happened.
Yeah.
Or right before that, because he was actually in Australia. But yeah, like all that stuff happened, and I remember when I first heard it was canceled, I was kind of like, well, why? I still didn't like understand the full spectrum of it all, and but it only took a couple weeks for everything to just happen so fast, and then like now in retrospect, it's like whoa,
Yeah.
we could have got stuck there, so luckily that we didn't. We had some crew people that left their homes, and they got to LA, and they were ready to fly from there to get their flights from there to Australia. And, last minute they turned back and went back home. But no one actually, was on their way there, so we had, I think like 24 hours or something like that before it got pulled, or the festivals got, shut down.
Yeah. Do you see have you found since this last little bit, of being stuck at home? I mean, for someone who's been on the road around the world so many times, I mean, are you adjusting enough or does it feel like a relief almost? I mean, I know you're worried about the future of everything, which everyone is, but have you been able to just kind of put it in perspective and kind of appreciate having that time to be down?
A little bit. Yeah, I think so. I mean, right now I would be in Europe right now. And I would be there for, I think the whole scheduled time is like a month and 2 weeks, which is kind of a long time that I think, at this point in life at my age, and, sort of, having a family and, the way that we kind of work now is like, we don't really usually tour that long, especially like, overseas. So it was going to be a long trip. And although we agreed to doing it, whatever, and I was happy to do it, it does feel nice to be home right now. I am getting to spend a lot of quality time with my family, which is great. I was going to be moving because I just moved to a different house over here in Lake Oswego. So I wouldn't have been home to do the move. So I was here to help and kind of get situated and set my studio up. I remember last time that when I hit you up, I was asking about if you had anybody that could help me set up my studio space as far as like wiring and stuff like that. So I'm kind of in the midst of still kind of doing that and, trying to do some work from home, but mostly like I am enjoying, like I stay busy. I have a routine. I ride my bike every day, usually around the lake. And I don't feel like oppressed by it really. I think a lot of people have it obviously a lot crazier. So I try to look at it positively, and I'm kind of doing some of the things that I guess I wouldn't have been able to do had I been out working.
Yeah. I'm glad you're able to find the positivity in that. And cause I know some people go the other direction and just get depressed and, why me and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, I think it's really forced people to take a look at what matters and what's, that word essential. But,
exactly.
I think it might, as weird as it is being a virus and a sickness and everything, I think it might be healthy for the majority just to take a break for a second and be like, wow, okay, regroup.
I was hoping,
button,
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, when, a while back especially, I was really thinking that. I said, I think a lot of people are going to do that, going to put things in perspective, whatever. But I think people go through sort of cycle or, different stages of it or cycles of it. And I feel like I saw that happening for a minute, and then I've also seen people's frustration kind of start to hit when like after the 2 month or 3 month mark, and obviously the weather started getting nice, and you just see people like just out like kind of being reckless too, and like you're just like, what? I mean, literally, I was at the store right now, and I saw this dude. I saw this dude getting mad at the guy told him that he needed a mask to go into the store, and the dude got like, he started trying to like nut up on the guy like that was like telling him he couldn't come in the store, and the guy's like, yo man, it's just the rules, like, you know what I mean, like, or it's just, you know, it's our policy or whatever. And the dude just wasn't having it, like stormed off and got in his car, like whatever. And so I see people being frustrated. You know what I mean? You know, I wish people could like think about the majority as like that's the one thing I think a lot, and it's sad, but like a lot of people like find it hard to like not just think about themselves. You know what I mean? And I was hoping that through this, that was something that people would sort of like get closer to is thinking about everybody, because, you know, the whole thing about wearing a mask should be that you're, you know, looking out for other people, right? I mean, like, and yourself, but it's like to keep you from spreading your germs to other people, whether you're sick or not. So it's sort of like, just like I think a good thing to do, like a positive thing to do. It's really doesn't hurt you in any way. I mean, in the fact that it's like kind of gotten quote unquote politicized is just kind of weird, man. But, you know, that's the only kind of like, you know, kind of yin and yang of this whole thing is like you see some of the goodness coming out of people, and then you see some people like they just get uglier, you know, in that same way. So
yeah,
I don't know, it's kind of crazy.
Well, and at the very least, it's probably got to help not getting recognized. Wearing a mask everywhere, you know, like,
dude, yesterday I got I was at the hardware store, and some guys, the guy at the hardware store, he's like, even with the mask on, dude, I know who you are. What's up? I was laughing.
That's incredible.
He was nice though.
Awesome. Awesome. That's hilarious. I was just imagining that, because I mean, with when I'm with Johnny from Portugal, the man, like I was doing some plumbing at his house, and we ran down to Home Depot to rent a tool, and literally got recognized in the Home Depot like tool rental place in like shorts and sunglasses.
That's funny.
It's insane. I don't know how people pick people out like that, especially that was before the mask thing was a mandatory thing. So like that was easier, but with a mask on, I mean, come on, that's crazy.
I know. And I had my bicycle helmet on too. So it was like I probably looked like, you know, I was like had some like sweat shorts on and some sneakers and my mask and I left my bicycle helmet on because I rode my bike over there.
Yeah.
And like, he's just like, even with your mask, I know who you are. And he was, what can I help you with?
What? Oh, it was an employee.
Yeah, it was an employee. Yeah, it was an employee. And he was super nice. He actually was very helpful too. But,
dude,
you know, I wanted to ask you though, so I heard you talk a little bit about your time with Portugal, man. So are they from Alaska too, or
yes?
Or, okay.
Yes. Yeah. From Wasilla, Alaska. Yeah, they are. And that's where we started. We started a band called Anatomy of a Ghost, and it was like a screamo band. We started out as like a punk band in Alaska, turned 18, moved down to the States to Portland to try to get signed and tour, because we weren't going to fly down to start tours every time. And we just had that dream and went for it, and ended up getting signed to a local label called Rise Records at the time, and now they're huge. But anyway, he put out the record. Fearless bought the record before it even came out, licensed it or whatever. That deal, I was never on the business end of that. But and so we started touring, and then once that band disbanded, John wanted to start Portugal the Man, which was it was going to be like an electronic acoustic side project thing, which morphed into this massive deal. Yeah. So, but yeah, all from Alaska.
Right. It's interesting.
And then, that was a wild ride as well.
and then since then, you sort of just like I know you still have interest in playing music, because I hear you talk about like getting guitars and stuff like that. But as far as like projects and stuff, you're not working on anything.
Nothing right now. Like I've just been really, I mean, I'm a commercial plumber now, so like I work pretty good hours, like early in the morning to mid afternoon. But then it's either working on the podcast or home with the family. And then I play guitar, as much as I can. but I don't have any specific projects I'm working on. I just play because I love to do it.
Gotcha.
But I'm not opposed to it and at all. But it's something that it was a huge passion of mine, like in my earlier days, to where like that was 100% all my eggs in that basket. That's the only thing I want to do. But this has been a cool way to connect with people through the show, and it's something that I do by myself, which is also cool because then, you know, when things start to work or things don't work, I know who to blame.
That's awesome.
But yeah, all from Alaska. And so I was talking to, I was going to ask you this because growing up in Sacramento, I mean, like a busy city, like tons of stuff going on. I was talking to, do you know Steve Evans? He's a producer.
Evans.
Did all the Dillinger Escape Plan records and like literally every release from them, like Saves the Day, Lifetime.
No.
Anyway.
No, it sounds familiar, but I probably do.
You might. He grew up in Brooklyn, and we were talking yesterday about just the difference. I grew up on a little island in Alaska when I was little, and he grew up in Brooklyn. Just the way that changes kind of who you become and how you react to things. And I mean, growing up in Sacramento, do you have a lot of good memories of that, or was it? I mean,
yeah, I mean, it was really, it was good, and I think it was actually we had a little bit of a good angle because it wasn't like we were from, even though Sacramento is the capital of California, it's definitely not, San Francisco or LA or, someplace where it's like, especially with the music side of things are like very scene kind of oriented. And like, there was a big music scene in Sacramento, but it wasn't like a scene where like, there was like this one type of music that just flourished and like everything else was, whatever, like it was really diverse. So like there were a lot of great bands, but they were like really good, like, there'd be like really good ska bands, really good, metal bands, really good funk bands, really good, a lot of different like rock and roll kind of stuff, folk stuff. I mean, hip hop groups, good hip hop groups, and good like DJ scene and stuff like that. So like it was really like all kinds of different music, and everybody sort of supported each other. There was one club that was well, there's a few clubs, but one of the clubs that we kind of came up in was this place called the Cattle Club, and there was like almost like 3 to 4 times a week there'd be live music, so it wouldn't matter like who was playing. People would just go to shows and support whoever was playing, and then when someone like a touring band from out of town would come, the guy who promoted the shows there, this guy Jerry Perry, he would like really look out for like the up and coming bands out of Sacramento and like put them on as openers for these national touring acts, whatever. So we got lucky, like when we were like coming up to open up for like bands like Primus and stuff like that, whatever. Which like obviously they're not from too far from us, from the Bay Area, but like there was a thriving music scene coming out of like the Bay Area, which from like bands like obviously like Metallica, Faith No More, but like there's like some smaller like kind of like funk metal bands. Like funk metal was like pretty big back in the 90s. So like bands like you probably won't know these bands, but like Fungo Mungo and Psychofunkopus and like Puzzlefish and all these like sort of like hybrid like metal but like sort of groove oriented bands. And so we sort of took a little bit of like obviously inspiration from them and bands like Primus and stuff like that, which were like heavy, I guess, or heavy rock or slightly metal stuff, but like had all these other elements in it, and a lot of bands did. So it didn't seem weird. I never felt like we were weird for like putting different influences together, making music. Like we all grew up listening to all different types of music. We were surrounded by all different types of music. So it was just like we just kind of made what we heard, like what we what we wanted to, and never felt like pressured to like fit into any like one box.
Yeah, see, that's one thing I've always admired about what you're doing. And it's something I've talked about on episodes before. Maybe they're not out yet. Maybe it just recently was coming to mind, but because I usually have like 15 episodes in the can that are just done, just in case something happens and I can release
Gotcha.
as whatever. But anyways, here nor there. But the one thing, it's always like the perception from being on the listener side and just like the voyeur side or the fan side of what you're doing is you guys have always done your own thing. But the one thing that's interesting about you specifically, and this stems back to when I first heard, so growing up in Alaska, I mean, you're bored all the time. I mean, there's tons of outdoor stuff to do, but if you don't do that, you're bored. You're finding, you're getting stoned all the time and maybe going standing in front of the bowling alley or go to a movie or something. So like there's a lot of like crazy shit that happens up there because kids are bored.
Yeah.
Down in Seattle where we would go for vacation to my grandparents' house, my grandpa had MTV, but it was like it would come in and out. It's something he didn't necessarily pay for. And I saw the board video. Somehow either, I don't remember if it was on the box. Do you remember the box?
I do. Yeah. It's like, you can like order videos on there, right?
Yeah. But I used to put in just a VHS tape and press record all night and then go through and fast forward until someone bought something. So it's either on the box or MTV. Saw the box video.
The box used to play, like my main memory of the box is them playing the Snow Informer video over and over and over. Like that video was like always on there when that was on.
Oh my God.
Side note.
Well, side note too, have you actually read the lyrics to that song?
No.
And actually tried to like read it aloud?
Somebody getting stabbed in the lane, and then the informant called the cops and
a licky boom boom down.
A licky boom boom down, yeah.
If you since you're stuck at home, you want to do something, print off those lyrics and just sit around and try to read them out loud and get through it without having to stop every two words, because it's actually written out like wit dat, dude. It's just it's like you're scatting. It's hilarious.
Gotcha.
But anyways, the board video comes out and I'm just like, what is this? This is rad. And I wasn't into heavy music at the time, like not quite yet. I was still like discovering, like the Blue album from Weezer was like a fucking explosion in my mind. Like I was so into that, and like
for me too. Dude, right around that same time too. It's like I don't think people would think when we were actually, people knew because we used to play that whole record. Like we could literally play that whole record, and we would like sprinkle in like a song from that record at our live shows all the time. But it's funny because that was probably our favorite record when that Adrenaline record came out.
Oh my God, this is awesome. Okay, so there's a connection there, but we went to the mall for whatever reason. I was like, Dad, I need to get this record. But the side note is I also want to get a windbreaker. And because I was looking at the style of the video and like what you guys were wearing, I was like, dude, that looks rad. And my dad would not let me wear Dickies because he thought they were gang related. So that was his exact words. Like, they're gang related. No. Raiders stuff. No. Like, this was his like Alaskan mind.
But how did he know that though? Because that's like workwear. So like but he must have seen something where
I have no idea.
Maybe he watched like Menace to Society or something. I don't know.
Or Dateline or something.
Something
about what the gangs. Yeah, he's like, if it's blue, it's this. If it's red, it's this. I was like, Dad, it's just a pair of Dickies. Like I want to dress like this, So like immediately see the video. Okay, I need to hear this record because I loved music at the time. I just wasn't into nothing had really spoken to me heavy wise. So immediately I go and I'm like, I need a windbreaker. He's like, well, I'll get you a windbreaker, but you're not wearing Dickies. I was like, what? We argued about this forever. I ended up going to thrift stores and just buying slacks to like do my knockoff Dickies.
Some tan slacks.
Yeah, but it was a style I'd not seen before, and maybe it was like that Northern Sacramento style, right? Like,
kind of. I mean, I think it's it's LA. Stems from that pretty much. I mean, West Coast. Where we wore Chucks or Winos, and and Dickies. And I mean, but I've been wearing those since I was a kid, like literally I used to wear those to school, and not because it was really the style, but it was like cheap. Like literally you go to Kmart and you can buy a pair of Dickies and a pair of like winos were like, $4 for a pair of shoes. And I was sort of like embarrassed. I kind of a little bit, but not really, because all the kids were wearing them. You know what I mean? It wasn't like I was the only one wearing them. So like, not until I got a little bit older and I realized I changed schools, went to in junior high school, went to like a school in a different neighborhood. And then I wanted I didn't want to wear that stuff. I wanted to wear what everybody else was wearing. And at that time it was like, skateboarding was sort of like getting big, but the skateboarding style that back then, it's funny because skateboarding style came around to like that, like Dickies and workwear and stuff like that. But at the time, which was probably like, I don't know, 80, I don't know, I want to date myself, like 86, maybe 85, 86. Mm-hmm. Like the skateboarding look was like fluorescent, like Town and Country, like, like baby blue and like, yellow and pink, like, like surf kind of wear. Like skateboarding didn't really have its own identity yet. You know what I mean? It was kind of like stemmed off of like surfer kind of look. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what, like, so I made my mom, I didn't make her, I asked her, and she was nice enough to take me to like get like some of those clothes, like, cause I love skateboarding, but, to fit in, like, that's kind of how I started dressing, you know what I mean? And then it's so funny that like skateboarding, came around years later to like, the look was kind of like the same sort of like cholo style that I kind of grew up wearing when I was, in elementary school.
Yeah, that's nuts, because and the thing where this was going with that, getting the windbreaker and stuff, is something that from the outside looking in, it seemed like whatever Chino was doing was cool. Like, like from even going from, and this is putting it on you, but going from Around the Fur to White Pony, like at that moment where, okay, Deftones for some reason are getting lumped into this new metal thing, which you're so far from it, but getting lumped in with these bands, you could have gone one way or the other way, and you went so far the other way. It was inspiring, like it was like, fuck, I've never heard anything like this. Like this, what is this record? This is rad. And it took it so far away from, and this isn't, shitting on like Korn and stuff. Like when I talked to Brian, like I liked the first two Korn records. I really didn't like anything after that. And I said, you know what? I'm going to talk about the first Korn record because that's the one I really liked. Anyway, not to shit on them, but for any means, but that whole style was starting to really get saturated and just dumbed down. And you guys took it in a whole nother direction, which then everything was like, okay, Deftones are doing this. It's cool to do this now. Like it was like the pioneering, both fashion and music. So it's just kind of funny to see throughout the course of history, like how the fashion, just the look, stuff you're probably not even thinking about seems to stem into the scene. Like I think the trendsetter. Yeah. Yeah. The fashion stuff, I'd like to believe that it just kind of like, obviously wasn't anything thought out, but more or less just sort of like, like going with what we, what we did. I don't think it was like, we definitely musically or stylistically, we never like sit around and have like conversations like as a band and say, oh, we should do this or we should do that. Like thankfully, like we've never been those type of people. We always just sort of just, we get into something and we just, it happens. It has happened for most part very organically. When we made White Pony, it was definitely an answer to what was happening around us. Like I think we sort of were a little tired of the music at that point, as far as like not even so much the sound of it, but I think probably the sound too, but I think the whole idea of just like this music that was so like tortured and like, like if you listen to something like most quote unquote new metal music, it's like so tortured. And at that point, like, when we made White Pony, I think I was probably in my late 20s or something like that. And like our first record, some of those songs I wrote when I was like 16 years old, so like we're talking about like 11 years later. And like
I can't be singing about like my childhood or like whatever, or like I was an adult. I lived by myself, I lived on my own. I toured, I'd been touring the world. Like I wasn't a kid that was just like, bullied or whatever, you know what I mean? Like I like art didn't come from a tortured place for me of something I just need to get off my chest. Like art was something, music was something like experimental and exploring and like taking you away from like whatever. Like, so like the last thing I want to do is make music of like coming from some vulnerable place, and not to diss anybody like that. Cause I understand that like music is therapeutic for a lot of people, but that's just not where I was, and I don't think that's where we were as a band. So yeah, when we made that record, like we were sort of like, I looked at it like, we were sort of just kind of like pioneering something, but not with like a preconceived idea of what we were doing. Just knew that we wanted to like venture out and like spread our wings a little bit and just go different places. We didn't know where, but just different places. Sure.
And you absolutely did. I mean, were you bullied when you were younger?
No.
Okay.
Not at all. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I I understand that some people were, and that the music that they make is therapeutic for them for that reason. So I would never like say anything negative about that. But I just knew that wasn't me. So like like if you listen to our first record, you hear like you'll hear like a song like 7 Words or something like that, which like I'm angry. I'm sort of angry at society. I'm sort of angry at. I mean, maybe it is a form of bullying, but it's like, when people just like sort of like don't believe in you and stuff like that, whatever. And people kind of talk shit, like whatever, like, especially like, I went through that thing where there were a lot of bands, like, some of the other, groups of like, especially like the hardcore kids and stuff like that were like straight edge, kids, whatever, which if that's what you do, that's great, whatever. But like I remember a lot of those kids, like had like beef with me. They used to try to fuck with me, whatever. And like, sort of like, they're kind of on their like, their whole kick and like whatever, blah, blah. And that just wasn't me either. And I just didn't get along with them. You know what I mean? So like, I got in like a few fights. Like I was like a year of my life, I remember, where I was just getting in fights like a lot. This was like this was like right around like, or right before we got signed. But like, we were sort of like a big group, as far as our, in Sacramento, like we were well known, and all our shows, we'd sell them out. Like we had a lot of people coming to shows. And then with that came, a little bit of backlash and jealousy, I think, from like a lot of those, like the hardcore kids who like, have been toughing it out for years and doing whatever.
Yeah.
But so had we, you know what I mean? But we weren't in their clique. We weren't like, hardcore, you know what I mean? We were us. We've always been us. And we didn't kind of fit along with their agenda. So like, they like, we'd be at parties and like, like these would whatever. And we used to get in like straight up fist fights. I used to get in like fist fights. And then like one day I just like decided I'm not going to fight anymore. Like whatever. I mean, if I have to, I would, but like, I just realized that like, it doesn't, like, what does it matter? So I guess that could be a form of bullying in a way, like whatever, like, or just like sort of getting messed with, whatever. But like, so back to what I was saying, is like our first record, I think there was a lot of that angst and that like anger, kind of like, like fuck you, whatever. Whatever kind of, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do, whatever, blah, blah. But after a while, that sort of like dissipated, and it's like why would I make music just like concerned about like someone who's gonna say something negative, you know what I mean? And or just like base my whole like sort of whatever my emotions off that. It's just like whatever. I mean, there's still, even in Deftones records now, it's not like it's all happy music at all times, whatever. There's still a little discontent and certain things in there, and dark themes and imagery kind of sprinkled in there. But it can't be that all the time. It can't be anything all the time. I think it has to just like be true to like how the music sounds, and the music is kind of what inspires all the every single word that kind of comes out when I'm sitting down writing. It's just like, how do these notes make me feel, or how to whatever. I mean, I don't actually say that to myself, but I kind of just write as I'm going, and in retrospect I sit back and look at it and go, oh, you know what I mean? Some certain things will come out, but it's pretty much just like me responding to the song, the sounds, you know what I mean, of what we made.
Well, that seems and that's interesting too, because when that stuff, like the quote unquote bullying, like you're talking like the FSU, like hardline straight edge kids and that whole movement that was happening back then. Like,
yeah, I don't know what FSU is, but
it stands for fuck shit up or friends stand. Friends Stand United. It was like the FBI has them on a gang list of these hardline straight edge kids that would go around and they saw someone smoke and they like just melee 10 of them on one, beat the shit out of them and carve an X in them or. It's fucked up, dude.
Yeah, but I didn't have anything like that, and I wouldn't say it was any specific gangs. It was just like other like kids. I mean, they're all my same age, so they're just kids too. You know what I mean? But just in bands. But like their music of choice was like hardcore music, which I know a lot more about it now, but at the time, like I didn't know much about like hardcore music. When I heard it, it just sounded like metal music to me, whatever. But it had like, I guess like I had like a message, I guess, to it, which is great. Like I'm not hating on, I mean, like, please don't get me wrong. Like I'm hating on like hardcore music, but I'm just saying at the time when I was a kid, like I didn't know, and they were, cause I didn't know, I wasn't in the same scene as them, you know what I mean? And then, but I just remember like there was a couple like individuals who were just, they're just dicks, whatever. So I shouldn't say it was all of them. It was just like a couple dicks that were just like always just and it was probably mostly stemmed from like, okay, well, we've all been like making music since, we were like young teenagers, and now like Madonna is signing our band. Like, you know what I mean? So like, yes. So they're probably just, like whatever, fuck these dudes, you know what I mean? They're probably saying that, thinking that about us. Fuck these dudes, you know what I mean? Why are they getting attention? You know what I mean? So
yeah, that's so, and that in itself is fucking crazy. The whole Madonna thing coming into play. I mean, of course, being a child of the late 70s, early 80s, coming of age, she's probably every fantasy you have, like coming into play. And then who was telling me about this? Maybe it was Fat Mike talking about wanting to hoping Maverick would come knocking at the door so he could get nude Polaroids of Madonna like Rancid got.
Yeah. I remember all that stuff. I mean, I was.
That's real. That's true.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. I mean, I was in the sort of in the mix when all that stuff was going on, as far as like, we were already signed by them or whatever. And I feel like they were that was like them trying to get their sort of, pop punk band. Not that Rancid is pop punk, but they're at that time, like pop punk or West Coast, like punk rock was huge, at that time. And it was starting to get huge, or it was kind of already big, I thought, whatever. But like, what's that band? What's their label? Epitaph was like whatever was really big, whatever. So I think that was like, Maverick's kind of thing. Like, we want our own band. And Rancid, as far as I'm concerned, they're like one of my favorites. I mean, I love NoFX too. But it's NoFX is a little more party-ish, vibe-ish, where Rancid to me was like kind of like little more street punk.
Yeah.
So I and then I had a lot of mutual friends with those guys. They'd come to Sacramento a lot. So I actually really liked, Rancid, and I think that, obviously Maverick, I think, was trying to like, cash in on that type of thing. But I remember, like, I mean, I obviously didn't see the pictures or whatever, but I remember hearing the tales like back then when it happened that she sent them like some Polaroids or something of herself.
It's so absurd.
She gave me a thing. I have I still have it right in my room. I have it at my house. The poster that she gave me, naked poster of herself, which I don't know if it was ever for sale. It's not like lewd or anything, but it's just sort of like a portrait kind of thing, whatever, that she signed for me. Yeah. And I cherish that thing. I mean, like, I was a little kid, like, that loved Madonna, Michael Jackson, Prince, like that's like mega, like, iconic shit. So it's like, don't think at any point I was not like tripped out that like I when I was hang out with her, like I would bug the fuck out.
Dude. Yeah. Did you? Did you get to spend time just hanging out?
Yeah, multiple times. I mean,
that is fucking crazy.
Yeah. And what's weird is that, like, she's probably one of the first, like, real famous people, like, real, like, famous people that I met. So like, it's pretty crazy to like what comes after that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like literally the day that we signed our deal, I went to the offices and I just went by myself with the guy who signed us, this guy Osiri, and we went into his office and she and we were just sitting there talking. He's like, yeah, well, and she just like walked in the room, and I just like was like, what? He's like, hey, this is our new artist. This is our new artist. This is Chino. He's he's a singer for the new artist. She's like, hi, whatever, and just like sitting there, just like sort of, like stunned. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just sitting there like looking at her, and she's talking to me, and I just like kind of like probably mumbling back to her or whatever. But yeah, I mean, there were certain times where we're really cool. Where it was just, her and I like backstage, like sitting in the room together, getting ready to go on stage. She's like, are you going to warm up? I'm like, I never really warm up. She's like, well, you don't warm up? I'm like, no. She's like, well, what are you wearing on stage? I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, what I have on? Like I had like my Dickies and a t-shirt on. She's like, you were wearing that on stage? And I was like, I didn't bring anything else. Yeah, that's what I mean. She's like, okay, well, come here, pull your pants up. She's like helping me with my belt, like, whatever, like trying to like make me look presentable. You know what I mean? But just like things like that are like pretty surreal. I mean, even to this day, it's like, I'm very, very lucky to have those experiences for sure.
That's insane. That's absolutely insane. Oh my God. Yeah. That's like going 0 to 100, right there. From the start. And the other thing you were mentioning too with that stuff going down, like not necessarily from your childhood days, but right before getting signed, and like that angst was so fresh. Maybe that's what gave it such an edge, that it was actively happening kind of as that was coming to be. That's fascinating. One other thing about you that really fascinates me is your contrast between like the beautiful things and then the dark things, and placing them together and utilizing the juxtaposition of, all these things lyrically, aesthetically, there's always like, just your voice alone, the beautiful parts that can just go into this pure rage has always been this awesome, like, super unique kind of the way it's done has just always been there. And what stemmed that for you? Like, what was it from your childhood? Like, one thing skateboarding wise, like, and I talk about this a lot, especially with street skating, like the way you look at a street is different than someone else looks at a street, right? Mm-hmm. It forces you to look at the world differently. Yeah. Just like growing up in a city and finding the beauty in a dingy, crazy city, it's like a sixth sense kind of. I'm wondering if that had anything to do with.
Yeah, I mean,
walk me through that. Like,
well, my answer would have been like completely generic. It would have been like, oh, because I listen to a lot of different music. But that what you're saying right there, actually sounds like really similar to like the way that I sort of like get down. Like that's, I think like that. I literally, when I look at things, I sort of see like, I've kind of always done that. I see like these neat qualities about kind of anything. Like I can look at something and get something out of it. I've always been able to do that. Visually and like with music too. Like it's weird. Like with music, when I hear certain things, it paints pictures for me. When I look at some certain like pictures or things, I hear music. So like those two things always sort of like they really they're compatible. I don't know why that is, but I've always been that way ever since I was a kid. But skateboarding, I'm definitely has there's a lot of that. I mean, you see sort of texture and feel like. I know it's not, it's a little hippie-ish, but I kind of get down that way. I mean, I've always been that way. And then obviously, like, I don't know, just growing up, like listening to different types of music. And, I was lucky enough to have an older sister who like showed me like a lot of British music, like early on. And at that point, when I was like in maybe 10 years old or 9 or 10 years old, like there was a lot of great 80s music coming, out of the UK and Germany as well. I mean, like Kraftwerk and, it's that to me, that was like, it's still some of the most futuristic music, and it came out, in the 80s, but like some of that early like German techno stuff and like that stuff to me sound like when I was a little kid, I used to love robots. Like I collected robots. Like I just loved, and that's, I'm sure a lot of young boys have been like that, since, the 50s, whatever. People just infatuated with like, things that kind of aren't man or aren't real or whatever. This probably goes with my infatuation with Star Wars and everything. But as a kid, like I always loved like technology and robots and stuff like that. But when I heard like some like the early like Kraftwerk and music like that, and like some of the early breakdancing music, like to me that sounded like outer space shit. Like that was just like. And then I heard bands like Depeche Mode, which is like, it had a lot of those sounds, those like sort of like, technological hip kind of, early hip hop stuff, drum machine stuff, whatever. But then it had like these like sort of romantic lyrics, like they were like, if you listen to like Martin Gore's lyrics, like of early Depeche Mode stuff, it's like kind of like, some of the early stuff is kind of like even like early like Beatles, like I Want to Hold Your Hand type of like kind of dorky, cheesy, whatever. But they sort of like as they went on, their music started to get really, really sensual and pretty and dark, but had beats to it, and it was different. It sounded futuristic. So like that was my favorite band. Like that became my favorite group, and it still is one of my favorite groups. But so like that juxtaposition of those things like it didn't seem weird to me when I was doing it, because I felt like that has been happening for a long time, and I wonder why more people don't like pull those influences together. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And being able, I mean, that's a gift right there to be able to see. I mean, what you're saying there is super interesting, because the pulling a different medium from another medium, right? Like looking at something visually, and in your brain, you're hearing sound. Like your transit. So when the human eye, and you probably know, I'm not going to give you a fucking anatomy lesson, but when the human eye sees an image, it's upside down until it hits the retina, and the brain, the optic nerve turns it around. So we see everything upside down initially. It's translated in the brain to see an upright image. I don't know why, and maybe someone out there probably does. I'm sure it's in a book. But when you're taking in an image, it's doing that, but at the same time, it's firing these other receptors in your brain, which is fucking awesome that it can do that. Like you can hear pictures, basically. Like you could, or to what you would, it's almost, that's like Sixth Sense kind of stuff. Like,
it's not, and I'm not going to say that it's like these vivid like images, whatever. It's not like, I have this super power or whatever, but
not an oracle.
But I do, it's kind of like to me, these two things go hand in hand. That's all I'm saying is like, I hear something, and I usually just like, I can, it's so easy for me to visualize like something, no matter what it might be. It could be a shape, even. It could be a color, a lot of times. It could just, more or less a vibe, just like of something, and vice versa. Like, when I see certain things, like certain, I don't know, like when you're talking about skateboarding, like a curve or I don't know, something. I kind of hear notes. I hear notes. I hear melodies. I hear I hear beats. I hear a lot of stuff, and that's just, I've been that way since I was a kid, and that's really one of the main reasons why I don't get bored making music. Like writing lyrics is probably my least favorite thing to do, but like but music and like coming up with melodies or beats or anything like that, like to me, that's just like pure, just like, you know, put something in my hand and I'll make something out of it. You know what I mean? Like literally, I won't be the most talented on a whatever instrument you give me, but I'll definitely make something, and it won't be like a task. It'll be fun.
Yeah. That's a really good way of looking at it. And I mean, going back to, well, let's talk on vibe then, because like when you have, say you have your home studio, right? Like I have not seen this yet, but or a studio you're recording in, are there certain colors or certain things you bring in with you when you are creating that you feel help you? Like, you know, my home studio is always, you know, painted this shade of gray or whatever, because it inspires it. I mean, do you go that far with it, or is it
not really? I used to like have certain, these like tapestries that I had. Like I had one that's like an outer space one that's like it's all just like stars. And I had a few of them, and I used to always put those up in my room, and it kind of just gives like this outer space vibe. Maybe it's like my Star Wars dweeb coming out, whatever. But I literally just threw those away the other day. Like when I was leaving my old house, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna retire these, and then I was gonna save them, and I was like, I just threw them away. But more than that, it's kind of like looking at my gear. Like I love to look at, you know, and I don't have tons of gear, but like the gear sort of inspires me. I love guitar pedals. I love looking at, certain things. I collect records. So like, I love so a lot of times before I'm making anything, I just usually come in my studio and I usually just like play records and there will always be some sort of idea that spawns from something like that, you know? So that, and then, I don't know. Yeah. Just looking at my stuff, and,
it's like a spaceship, dude.
It kind of is. It's like a little control
room. It's like
room,
robots for adults, pedals, analog gear. Like it's a control center. Like you're in the fucking ship.
It is. And I'm not like the most tech savvy person either. So like, a lot of times, like what will end up destroying my creativity is like the technical side of things. So like if I have an idea, or I just like want to like whatever, and then I gotta like open up a session and like set stuff up and like do whatever, like by the time and then I hit I kind of hit like a wall, or I hit like something's not working. And then I'll say, fuck it. And then I'll just like stop, and then I'll just do something else because so that's like one of my main things that I need to learn, like patience for one. I mean, that's a big thing that I've been working on all my life, but to have more patience, but to also like actually learn a little bit more of like the technical side of things. The best times when I make music is like when actually I'm not even using the computer at all. You know what I mean? I have like a few loop pedals, and I can save the loops in there, and it's super easy, and I'll do that like whatever. Or where sometimes when I have to turn on a screen, because the screen sometimes sort of like there's so many options there that too many options is like not good. I feel like the less tools sometimes that you can make things with is like it's way more inspiring that way. It's like I only have these 3 things, whatever, and I want to make something with these 3 things, and like you know what I mean. If there's too many options, and it kind of turns me off in some weird way.
Man, see, have you heard the episode I did with Ian Mackay?
No.
Oh man, he was talking. I first thing I asked him, because I was always curious about is he always like kind of paints himself into he puts limitations on his art, right? Like Fugazi is going to have, just guitar to amp, right? No pedals. No, nothing. They're going to do, just change the dynamic. They're going to strum harder, turn the volume knobs down, and then make those speakers, break up natural distortion, right? With the Evens, they he's got a baritone guitar and drums. He's got, he there's always putting like rules on things.
Yeah,
I was
I like that.
Asking about that, and he said he likes to paint himself into a corner and find his way out.
Yeah, that's neat. I like that.
That's
idea.
the inspiration, right? Like that's exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Is I'm going to take these 3 things, I'm going to make this, right? Like I don't know. Like I've watched the rig rundown videos of Stefan's rig, and I just what the hell?
That is like a spaceship.
Yeah, exactly.
But like the funny thing is like, you know, and no disrespect to Stefan because I love him to death, but like, man, he don't use like the majority. He don't even use all the strings he has. He got like 20 string guitars wherever he uses now. And he don't like. I'm just like, man, come on. But yeah, like that shit's kind of funny, and I love gear just as much as the you know as the other guy, the next guy.
Sure.
And I'm you know I think it's awesome that there's you know that all these plugins exist and all this stuff, whatever. So I'm not anti any of that, whatever. But I'm just saying, like sometimes for me, I mean, listen, if I knew how to use all that stuff, I wouldn't be saying what I'm saying right now. But so maybe why I'm saying a lot of this is because like I don't know what I'm doing, so I just get frustrated, and that's again my patience is just not up to that. You know, I don't have that patience yet to like sit and learn, and especially when I'm in the mood to create, I definitely don't want to sit and like read a manual or like you know watch YouTube videos of how this is supposed to work. Yeah, I did it's funny, I did this like not soundtrack, kind of like a score, I guess, whatever, for this Hulu TV kind of thing, maybe about a year ago. And I kind of took that philosophy. It was for this thing called Into the Dark series, and it was just for one episode. But it's kind of like a movie. It's like I don't know, like maybe an hour, 15-minute sort of like you know short story kind of thing. And it's like a psychological kind of like thriller kind of thing, whatever. But what I did was I decided I'm only going to use, you know, certain things. So I have like a Prophet, like a keyboard, you know, old like synthesizer, whatever, that has plenty of sounds in it. I mean, there's, you know, it's not like it's limited. It's there's tons, you can do anything with it, especially with that and pedals, but just that, and a guitar and my guitar pedals, whatever. And I made a whole score with just those things. And I could have went in and I could have like, you know, got into the computer and started, you know, like, or whatever, and just added whatever. But I felt like if I just minimize myself to these two things, like, you know, that's all I need, because, you know, I know what notes there are, you know what I mean? It's not like I'm going to find any new note going to another piece of gear. So let me just use this keyboard and this guitar and some pedals, and I'm going to make this thing. And it was probably one of the funnest things that I've done, you know, in the last couple of years.
Man, that sounds awesome. Like for one with the limitations, but you know, taking on a project like scoring something too.
Yeah.
So so when you did that, did you have the visuals and everything else, or did they just say, we want this kind of stuff?
Yeah, they actually sent me the movie as it was coming along, and you know, they'd send me scenes first, and then as they were putting you know, I worked on it up until they were, you know, putting, like, editing it through the edit and everything, and then after it was completely edited, I kind of had that was the best way for me to kind of watch it. And there was some temp music in there that they'd thrown in there, so I kind of like knew what, you know, what vibes they're looking for, even though kind of what I was saying earlier, that's kind of I feel like I'm pretty good at that, like about like seeing something and kind of feeling the vibes anyways. But I had a great time doing it. And yeah, so like I was able to sort of watch the movie, like learn the characters, and then, and just sort of create, like, sort of for each character, they kind of had their own sort of like, you know, like palette in a way too, to like draw from. So, it was definitely an experience. Like, I've never done anything like that before. And I'd obviously like to do like more of that in the future, you know, especially if there's not going to be, you know, hopefully there is, but, you know, who knows the future of going out and playing shows. So, you know, staying creative, that's something that's like really neat.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I've got a few buddies that do that for a living, and they score, you know, TV shows and things like that for like Universal and things of that nature. And then also commercials, like doing songs for commercials where like Mark, do you know that band Dredge?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know Mark. Okay.
Yeah.
So he was talking about talking about making commercials for like Ford and shit and doesn't have to put his name on it, but he can totally get out like those wiggles of, like, I totally want to write this, total bro down Kid Rock song, like, and just for fun, get paid for it.
The funny thing about that is they like straight up tell you, I have a couple friends that do that too. And like, they straight up tell you, we want a song like exactly like this, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They basically tell you the song they want it to be like, and then you're supposed to, and that's just because they don't want to pay like, Kid Rock for his, whatever. They want something that's, in the Kid Rock vein of things, whatever. and basically they want, so it's a little goofy, but definitely it's a payday, and it's, like you said, you get those wiggles out, you get to play music and be creative, and yeah, it's good, man.
Yeah, man. So one other thing I wanted to I almost texted you this the other day because I was watching it and you all of a sudden you're on the screen. You're talking about like getting into like, Kraftwerk, Depeche Mode, like, cause you didn't grow up on metal, like you were into other things.
I got into it like probably when I got in this band. Yeah. So like not until I was like
so
16,
you had this
15,
awesome
16.
socialization of music from another realm to tie into this and add this lushness to the Deftones. But I put on Finding HR. Bad Brains, fucking amazing band, and all of a sudden there's you, and I was like, I had no idea you were, not that I know everything about you, but I didn't even put the two together. That how much you love the Bad Brains. When did like the Bad Brains and like punk rock hit you?
Well, I think the first punk stuff that I heard was like the first Suicidal Tendencies record.
Okay.
And because that's like West Coast kind of punk rock, and and like it was just it bugged me out because I was like, these dudes look like they were kind of like cholo looking dudes, and like but they just made like this like this like pretty like dirty kind of street like punk, and it sort of resonated with, I guess, someone my age. I was probably like in 7th grade or whatever when I first heard that. So yeah, I was like, like everything they were talking about in the music, this and that, whatever. And it kind of got me into punk a little bit. But then I listened to some stuff, like I didn't like the Sex Pistols and stuff like that. So like people say, oh, you like that? Well, listen to this. And I would listen to like the Sex Pistols and I would be like, I don't know if I really, whatever. Or, there's just some stuff I didn't really, not that it sucked. I just didn't, it didn't really click with me, I guess, whatever.
Sure.
But then I heard the Bad Brains, and I just like just the full on like assault of just like power and like how fast they played. I mean, this is like the stuff before even like Eye Against Eye, which is their like I think 3rd record or whatever at that time. But So, but when Eye Against Eye came out, then they started to get a little more like, I guess, metalish, I guess, in a way, more groove kind of stuff going on. Because before that, they were just like fast punk, which I loved. But then when I heard like Eye Against Eye, I was just like, whoa, because it is then again was genre bending. You know what I mean? And not that they already hadn't been genre bending, because they had like reggae songs, but then mixed it with everything. So that was kind of bugged out. But they didn't really mesh it up as far as like a reggae / metal song. They'd have a reggae song, then they'd have a punk song, reggae song. But with Eye Against Eye, it sounded like they weren't being that cut and dry. They would like put some of those influences into a heavier song. So like that was something very special to me. And then especially when Quickness came out, which is probably still my all-time favorite Bad Brains record. That record just completely solidified it for me. And then that was around the time when we started Deftones. So like that was like, if I want it to be like anything, it's not like I really wanted to sound like him, even though we did definitely like wear that on our sleeve, that we were big Bad Brains fans and definitely influenced by them. I really, really loved more than anything the fact that that's what they did. They were genre bending in a way, but making this really aggressive, heavy music. And the lyrics were super like not metal at all. Like, you know what I mean? Like the shit he was talking about was just like that's awesome. You can talk about what you're saying and it's not like, about blood and guts or whatever, or, whatever. It was just like, it wasn't like scary. You know what I mean? Like most metal was trying to be at that time. It was like soulful, like, like heavy music that like had tons of groove to it. So that band is the epitome, will always kind of be of like, you know, what was inspiring, I think, for us five guys as, you know, bass guitar, drums, you know, a band, you know what I mean? Making some songs for sure.
Yeah. When did you get tied up with them as far as, you know, coming into their headspace, like to where you guys knew each other? Like how far into Deftones was that?
Pretty early. I mean, when we after we got signed to Maverick, I was with Guy O, who signed us and signed them. He ran into HR at I'd been telling him, like, since he signed us, he was just like, oh, you know, I remember the first day that we did like a showcase, I guess, for him and Freddie DeMann, who at the time was Madonna's manager. It was just those two dudes sitting in chairs, and us like in a little like rental like studio kind of like rehearsal spot. They rented us gear, and we went in there and we played 3 songs for them. And after the second song, like Freddie stood up and said, like, yo, I don't need to hear any more. Like, where do we sign? And I was just like, where do you sign? I was like, yeah, I was like, what do you mean? Like, I didn't even know what he meant. And like, he's like, let's do this. It's like, I love this, whatever, blah, blah. I was like, okay, can we play another song, whatever? So he's like, sure, play another song. So we played one more song. And then as soon as we were done, Guy asked me, he's like, so like, what do you listen to? And I remember like I said, I don't know, that's all kinds of stuff. But like, right now, my 2 favorite things is Bad Brains and Sade. Like, those are my 2 probably records I listen to the most right now. And he's like, that's interesting. But
yeah, it is.
But he ran into HR, like he was sitting on a bus stop or something like that. Like maybe a few months after we were signed. Our record still wasn't out yet. But at that point, I started to go and stay at Guy's house all the time. And we would just like vibe on music and whatever. He's a huge music fan. I mean, like, that dude has so much music knowledge. And so him and I clicked like really early on. So he kind of took me under his wing. And even though he's a tiny bit older than me, he's kind of the same age, but we hung out a lot. And one time he saw HR at a gas station, and I was staying at his house. So he brought him back with him, and he was sleeping in like, he came and stayed and was sleeping in this extra room at his apartment. And I was staying there too on the couch, whatever at the time. And so we like sat there and like, we just became friends. I mean, like, he was still a little bit bugged out back then. Like, he would, you know, sometimes he's hard to sort of, you know, to understand or like even his speech sometimes when he talks, like, you just like, huh? Like, you have to really, really pay attention to him. And then sometimes he's really quiet. Sometimes he's not, so, you know, and so I've always known him as like being like, you know, he's always been very cool to me, but just like never really got a full grasp on like his person, like him in general, his, you know, whatever. So, you know what I mean? And his vibe is different, you know, it's a lot of times a different time to see him. But I remember we sat in at a guy's house before, like, I was playing guitar, and he had this trumpet, and he would only play this trumpet. He wouldn't sing or do anything. He just like, and he didn't really know how to play the trumpet either, I'll say, but he would just like, but guys like, you guys write some songs. I'm like, okay. So like, I'd play guitar and he would like play the trumpet along. I'm like, this is fucking hilarious right now. But I can't believe I'm sitting here like in this empty bedroom. Like, there was no furniture in there. We were sitting like on the floor on the carpet, like just like making up, like, you know, making up songs, which, you know, obviously nothing, whatever came of it. But yeah, we'd hang out, you know, from time to time. And then then he signed the Bad Brains, and he put out that God of Love record, and their first tour, they were supposed to open up for the Beastie Boys, but he got crazy. I don't know if you watch that documentary, I'm sure that, yeah. So that happened. And then right after that, I think they almost dropped him after that, but they just like let him, they were like, okay, well, let's see what's up. So then they went on a tour, and then we were the opening band. So we did like maybe 2 weeks. We started, I think, somewhere in California, and we kind of worked our way towards the Midwest, and we got to Kansas City, and he just like lost it, went on stage, and like he said like somebody in the crowd was like like sig hailing him or something, or spit on him or something, and he hit this dude over the head with the mic stand.
Oh
and
my God.
I literally saw it, like, you know what I mean? And then the concert just was like, bzzz, like it was just over. He got arrested, and then we drove home from Kansas City, like tour was over. We were in our van, and you know, the rest of the Bad Brains dudes drove home, and then we drove home, and that was it. You know, that was it for the whole thing, for that whole record, and then for the God of Love record. And we went on and continued, obviously, tour. That was before Adrenaline was out. We had a demo tape of some of the songs that were recorded already, but the record wasn't out yet. And then I've made music since then with Doc and Daryl and a lot, you know, the other dudes, with Mackie. So they're still very much in, you know, in my world. I will always have tons of respect for that band.
God, that's awesome. I would love to have a conversation with HR. He is just a fascinating person, but he picked him up at the gas station and brought him to his house.
Yeah, he was at a bus stop.
That's what I thought I heard that, and I was like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah,
that makes total sense. Like, he's just all over the place.
Yeah,
like,
he was a nomad for a while, like in LA.
Yeah.
He lived in one of my other buddies. He lived in his warehouse for a little bit. He just, like, when we actually, this is funny, I just remember this, when we were recording the Saturday Night Wrist album, or parts of it, whatever, because that record was done in so many different places. But we were in Malibu. We rented this house, and he came out one time out there, and he brought his guitar, and we were sitting there writing songs, and he had this electric guitar, and he didn't even plug it in, but he was standing there, like, when we were like literally writing songs, like playing them, and like we tried to like make him inclusive, like whatever, like, and he was just like, he was there and he was strumming along, but he was like in another world. He wasn't even like playing the same song, whatever. It was the weirdest thing. And he ended up staying with us for like probably, I don't know, a few weeks. And there's like this little room above the stairs, like this little kind of cubby hole thing. And he made it his bedroom, and he slept up there for like a week and a half, 2 weeks. And every morning I'd get up and I'd go to the kitchen, and he'd be in the kitchen, just like making cereal. And like, we sit there and talk, like whatever. It was wild. And, you know, that was a wild time in our lives too, but like, it was just surreal. It was just like, you know, whatever. And he was kind of, I think, you know, between places and sort of a little out. That's when I really started to realize that like he was just not really completely there. But now the things I've seen of him recently, he seems a lot more cognitive and a lot more, you know, I know he had some sort of operation, some brain thing that he had, whatever. He was getting headaches and stuff. And
yeah,
so he got an operation not too long ago, and he seems to be doing a lot better, and he seems a lot more like together, you know, which is, I'm happy for him.
Yeah. I can just picture him coming down to breakfast.
Yeah.
Oh, bless you, my son. Like,
yeah. Bless
you. Son. Yeah. Bless. Yes. Yeah. And, if you want, I don't know if you know, I'm sure you know about this website, but it's called Cameo.
Okay.
They probably, I don't know.
I know what you're talking about.
HR is on Cameo.
Oh man.
So you can watch him like, I just want to tell you to have a glorious birthday, blah, blah, blah. And he's just like, the phone is in his face, like a dad who doesn't know how to use it quite all the way. It's the most amazing, you got to go check it. If you just go to Cameo and type in, you know, HR and just watch the videos he's already done for people, and he's, his speech is better. He went on Darren Pfeiffer from Goldfinger's podcast, and you could barely make out what he was saying. He was talking so slow, and you just kind of felt bad because you're like, man, this is really like hard for him, but he wants to do the interview. Yeah. But now seeing him now, it's very clear, and he's in a good spot, it seems like.
Yeah.
But man, what a legend.
For sure.
That's insane. Yeah, it was so weird when that documentary started. I was like, wait a minute, what? It was just out of nowhere. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. I'm going to have to see what's the deal with this is. But well, tell me this. So, I mean, you've been doing music for so long. I mean, you've done some awesome collaborations. Like, I can't tell you how stoked I was when Palms came out. Because ISIS is pretty much my favorite band of all time. Like, I love that band so much. And
yeah, me too.
Just from like the pure, I've talked about it, I think before, but like seeing them live to where I could, in a room so packed, I could basically just like let my legs give out and just be kind of moved by the crowd through this earth moving sonic assault. but you were singing basically with ISIS. Like, it was like, this is going to be fucking rad. And it was. But I remember it's one of the last albums I actually pre-ordered.
Well, I will say this. I mean, not to cut you off, but like
no.
The expectation for doing something like that is like crazy, because like you, I loved ISIS, you know what I mean? And then I'd be dumb to think, okay, so, you know, a lot of people's first idea would be like, okay, this is pretty much ISIS, because obviously Aaron wasn't involved, or Aaron Turner, sorry. So people were like, well, this is basically then ISIS, but with Chino singing. So like, how awesome can this be? You know what I mean? So to me, I was just like, man, this better be great, right? But what's sort of, I think, you know, and I definitely don't want to talk down on that record, because I enjoyed, you know, doing that project for sure. But the way it came about was sort of like, it wasn't like really like a band per se, you know. It was I met Aaron Harris. Where did I meet him? I met him actually, I think I might have met him hiking in Los Angeles. This when I still live in Los Angeles, and and we started talking, and then we used to go hiking all the time together at Runyon Canyon, and we would just like hike and talk about music and like you know, all this stuff, whatever. And you know, and we became really close. But after, you know, a couple of years of us hanging out a lot, he was like, hey, so me and Jeff and Cliff have been working on some tunes together. It's you know, obviously three of the five of ISIS, but you know, it wasn't necessarily ISIS music. It was a lot more, I guess, like soundscapey, more, or like, you know, like a more of a cinematic kind of thing, whatever, you know, this and that, whatever. And I was like, cool. Yeah. And he's like, hey, would you mind, you know, maybe you want to put a vocal on something? I'm like, sure. So I went to his pad one day, and he set up like a microphone, literally like a little in his closet, like you walk in an apartment. He was in this apartment too, like in Hollywood, like right down the street from Guitar Center, and like literally was like in a closet with like a microphone, and he just like would play me, you know, a track, and those songs were like, you know, 12-minute songs. I mean, they were long songs, which it's like, so I was just like, okay, so like doing one song was almost like doing an album. And I was like, okay, so, you know, there's so many different parts and like reoccurring parts, whatever. So I did it. And I think the first song we did was probably the best song on the record. What was it called? Damn it. What's the name of the song? I don't even remember. I gotta remember. When I remember, I'll tell you. So I was like, cool. And he's like, yo, there's only, you know, we only have like 3 or 4 more songs. He's like, let's, you know, he's like, would you mind doing those too? I was like, cool. So we did it with the intentions of it, you know, not it being a band or not it being whatever, just like, let's just like, it was just fun. You know, I'm hanging out with my friend. We're just like experimenting and making music, but it wasn't like a band. It was like a bunch of music that they'd already sort of like been jamming on, whatever. And then I just sang over like what they had, where it wasn't like, I didn't have any part like in the creating of the songs themselves or whatever, or playing guitar. Eventually when we played live, I played guitar, and I felt like the live version of it, of that was a lot better, because it just was more bombastic, and it was more dynamic, I think. But yeah, like it was tough, because like I said, the expectations of what that could have been, you know, I felt a little let down. So if I felt that way, then I know that a lot of other people must have felt that same way too. But that being said, you know, I'm glad I did it. It was super fun. And we actually wrote like a few songs now, ones that we did actually together as a group, and we probably got like 4 or 5 tunes of those that we started working, that we like done some recording on them actually. Mm-hmm. And then kind of paused it out due to like, you know, I had to go in and do a Deftones record, or, you know, whatever. There's we weren't able to get around to whatever, and we still may at some point, because it's obviously the songs are there, and it's kind of up to me to kind of like write some more vocals and stuff over it, but it's actually a lot more, I think, a mix of, you know, Ice-Sissy and Deftones type of thing, because it's a lot more guitar driven, I guess you'd say, just, you know, distorted guitar and dynamic and whatever. But, you know, it also made me realize too how big of a part Aaron Turner is to ISIS, man. Like, you know,
oh my God, yeah,
like that dude is like, he, you know, everybody in that band is important, no doubt about it. But like, you like when I listen to like what's his band?
Sumac?
It's the Spice, yeah, Sumac. Yo, I was just like, this is like, you know, this is a lot. This is, you know, you kind of realize like why I love this dude. You know what I mean? Why I loved ISIS. You know,
yeah.
So, you know, and like a lot of bands, it's like, you know, every single person is you know, a counter. You know, for the best bands, I would say, you know, every single member is very important to the success of, you know, of why this band is very, very special. I mean, you know, I think, you know, the sum of its parts, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No disrespect to anybody on their own. I'm just saying, like, when it's magical, it's magical.
Oh my God. Yeah. Did you see when they got back together for that, Caleb Schofield benefit?
I did not. Wasn't it, did they play in LA, or I thought it was on the East Coast?
It was in LA, I believe. It was live streamed. Yeah. Oh my God, that band's amazing. And so Sumac, like, you know, I'm sure you've heard Botch and These Arms Are Snakes.
I've never heard Botch. No, I always hear people talking about it, but I never heard.
Holy shit. I just did an episode with Dave Varell, the singer for Botch. But Brian Cook from Botch plays bass in Sumac. And Russian Circles and Roy and These Arms Are Snakes, like super prolific, just like yourself. But and then the drummer is the drummer for Baptists. Have you heard of that band?
Mm-mm.
Oh fuck, dude! This drummer's a fucking powerhouse. Like the band's amazing. I think they have 2 records out on Southern Lord.
Baptist. Yo, was not to go too far back, but was Matt Bayless? Was he in Bosch?
No, Matt Bayless. Let's see. Matt Bayless. He recorded some of the ISIS records, or maybe all.
Yeah, I think I know he did. He did. I think he did.
He was in Minus the Bear.
And that guy was in Bosch. Keys.
Yeah, I don't know. He was not in Botch. He was. Botch was. Bayless was in Minus the Bear. And then he stopped Minus the Bear to produce full time, I think.
Okay. I'm sounding like a dummy over here. I was just wondering because I figured there was some correlation there, but yeah, that's right. Bayless recorded the ISIS, the Panopticon record, I think.
Yes.
Which is one of my favorites. And it's funny. He assisted the Round the Fur record under Terry Day.
Really?
Yeah. Bayless did it. We were in Seattle. Did most of our records up there, but he assisted at that what studio we're at, Studio Litho, which is one of the guys from Pearl Jam's place, and he was a trip. But I didn't know that he became a producer, and then I heard that Panopticon record, and I was like, "Yo, he killed it,
dude!
He killed that record." Yeah.
Have you looked into? This is a side note too, but have you looked into what the Panopticon idea was?
Mm-mm.
Like I did some research on it because I was super like Aaron's into all sorts of crazy shit. Like rad books and stuff, but there's this philosopher named Jeremy Bentham, and he had a prison idea, like a prison that would be built in like a round, right, like a circle with a tower in the middle, and the tower in the middle would have windows all the way around it, but they would be blacked out basically, so the entire prison didn't know if they were being anyone at any time didn't know if they were being watched, and there would be one guard that would basically be able to take the job of everybody because of them feeling like they were being watched and not knowing for sure to keep them in line. It was called the Panopticon. Okay. And it's a wacky, it never got built, but it was just an idea. And anyways, you can look at that all you want, but
I love that stuff though. I love when, you know, these like ideas, like especially when they get, you know, put to music, like stuff like that. Like there's like, that's my thing all the time. There's so many neat things like that, you know, that are interesting in other ways, that like, you know, ways to express in music about other things other than just like hearing a singer talk about themselves, you know what I mean? And from a singer's point of view, like probably sounds weird at me saying it, but like, I love most of the music I love, like, doesn't have vocals on it. And if it does have vocals, it's stuff like that. Because like when I listen to music, I like to like kind of I like to get my own sort of interpretation of like the way the music itself, the drums, the percussive, the notes, everything, like what is the story that it's telling. And then a lot of times it gets ruined by you hearing about whoever's singing or like what they're talking about, you know what I mean? Their personal stuff. Like sometimes it kind of like, I don't want to say it ruins it, but it like takes it out of the element that was created already musically. So a lot of the times I listen to like a lot of instrumental music because of that. But I would love like when people, you know, the idea, like if you hear a song and then like you don't, you know, it's like Ojira, who I kind of like, you know, like, because like there's stuff like it's heavy, it's metal, but like, you know, the stuff that he sings about is just like kind of like not like, it's just not metal. You know what I mean? And I love that. It's, or I shouldn't say it's not metal, but it's not typical. You know what I mean? It's things that you would want to like look up and go, what is this about? And then you like you said, you'll find out like this kind of whole other idea. This guy is about this prison, this, you know, and it just kind of gives it more depth, you know what I mean? In that way, other than just like hearing about someone's, you know, emotions that everybody has, like, you know, like, you understand what I'm saying? It's like,
I do. Absolutely.
Like people connect to music a lot. Most of the time, I think I could be wrong. Maybe it's just, you know, maybe I'm assuming too much, but like you connect to music first off by like, it just makes you feel something. Like it gets your attention. Why? You know, usually it's not because of something someone's saying, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's usually because of the beat or some kind of like rhythm or some, you know, some melody that just like sinks, you know, makes you sink into your seat or something that grabs your attention. And, you know, for the most part, like a singer can fuck that up like pretty quick. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
I do. Absolutely.
Yes. So my job kind of sucks, man. Like for that reason, you know what I mean? Because like, I don't want to fuck that up.
Oh my God. So this, everything you're saying here though ties into so many different things, right? So like music in itself, I was talking about this yesterday with Steve Evans, like your heartbeat has a rhythm, right? But it's not perfect. Every beat's not the same. And we're talking about perfection in the studio and things like that, to where it sucks. Like you want some feeling behind it. But there's music going on in our bodies at all times, right? You're blinking, you're breathing, your heart's beating, you're grunting, you know, maybe you hiccup. I mean, music is inside you, right? Like it's just the way it got put to me. There was a band I saw called Smegma, right? And it was this band. They've been around since like the 60s. They're playing all these weird homemade instruments, and it sounded awful. And I had no idea what I was looking at. I was frustrated. I was working at this venue in between tours. I was doing security work. And my buddy Mac Mann from Antioch Arrow and Get Hustle, and he's like, dude, check this out. Picks up some swizzle sticks off the coffee thing and just drops it on the table, drops it on the counter, and just says, that was music. You're just looking at this like verse, chorus, everything you know to be music, and you're not understanding it. But that right there is music, and this is too. And it opened my whole world up, right? But the other thing is, and this is going all over the place, but the way you write lyrics, right? You don't just give it out there, right? You don't just give it to people. It's so like nuanced and you know, it's not just point blank, this is what I want to say, right? Like you're texturing the music with the words you're choosing to use, and in the way you're choosing to do it ties in exactly to your feeling on how a singer can ruin a band, right? Or ruin a song by just putting it out there. But you feel through the sound of your voice and the dynamics you're using, the emotion that you're expressing, right? If you listen hard enough, or you have that ear, which I feel I've trained over time to be able to pick up on some of that stuff because of the way it makes me feel, right? So and it's going to be different for everybody. Just like if you said I shot
Yeah, but that's all you can go by. You just have to go by like how, you know, how just you're reacting to, you know, what the person next to you presented to you. Like you've been in a band, obviously. So you, like when you guys write music, like, unless, you know, I'm sure there are some bands that kind of sit around and say, oh, we're going to write a song about this and it's going to sound like this or that, whatever. But for the most part, I'm assuming that a lot of bands, they just kind of get in a room together and they start making noise. And then the person that they chose to jam with or make music with, they start to react to that noise. The next person reacts to that noise. The next person reacts to that. Next thing you know, everybody's kind of gets on the same page because they're all reacting to each other and they're creating something that was never there. Correct?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a beautiful way of putting it. I mean, it's just, you're creating something that was never there. I mean, music, you can feel it, right? You can feel it. It's tangible in that aspect, but it's invisible. Like you can just, you know, even someone, like I said before, who's deaf can feel the beat. They can feel the air. They can feel the frequency. Like whether or not they're hearing what's being said or whatever else. I mean, it's just, that's some of the best ways. I mean, some bands, of course, work where, oh, you know, that we're going to write a song about this and we're going to do it, you know, and
listen, some people do a great job at that. I mean, sometimes I wish, you know, this is not me saying that, you know, that way sucks. I mean, listen, I wish that I had that sort of talent to be, you know, or was a poet in some way where I just like sat and wrote these like this wonderful story, these wonderful words, or this wonderful thought that was like, you know, so emotion evoking that I handed it to, you know, these other dudes and said, hey, write some music around this. You know, like yeah. And then hear something back and just be blown away. Like, oh my God, they just escalated this thought I had. I mean, like, that's just not the way I work. But there's people that do stuff like that. I mean, you know, there's some artists that like, especially singers, I'm saying that like that have that do that. That's, you know, awesome. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I mean, even like Bernie Taupin or whatever, you know, who like, you know, would write these beautiful words, you know, for Elton John, and then Elton John would sit and write a beautiful song to his words and then sing someone else's words, and it worked. You know what I mean? So like, that's crazy. That's just a whole nother way of making music. It's insane, but I couldn't imagine ever doing that. I mean, so like in no way am I saying like, you know, my way is the right way. It's just the way that like the way that it's worked out for me, being like a kid learning for not even just like figuring out as I'm going along, I'm like how to sing or how to like write a song or whatever, but just like, you know, there's 5 of us all trying to figure stuff out. You know, we started pretty young in the garage, like we're, you know, and the fact that nobody was listening and judging us. There was no internet. We weren't like making up a song and then posting it on the internet before we knew what the hell we were doing. You know what I mean? We were just playing learning and playing to ourselves. So we were actually very lucky to come up in the time too, where like we weren't being judged like by like on our, you know, on us learning and figuring stuff out, you know, for the most part.
Yeah, you could just present it as it was meant to be presented.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing I've talked about before too, but I took this class in college on art and or photography and the written word, and how, you know, they basically give you a picture and you write about it. And they mentioned something in there about how when the Mona Lisa was painted, it was meant to be seen in this certain room, under this certain light in this certain situation. But with the advent of photography, you could look at it anywhere. You could be in Australia on a bus, and pull up a picture of the Mona Lisa, and it kind of killed the whole point of it, and the whole meaning behind it. But so like those early shows and before all the being able, like, it's like comedians where they're filming their small club sets where they're working on a bit. And it kills it because they throw it out on the internet and people start lambasting it. It took it out of its original element it was meant to be seen as. It's like, it's like watching Sun or Marilyn Manson in the daytime. Like it takes everything out of it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no, I feel you. I feel you. Yeah, I mean, like, you know, when you're a kid too, so especially you're very impressionable, you know, like when you see things, or like for the first time, if you see something in a certain way, it's like, it's almost like, you know, the mystique and everything around it, like, is so much a part of what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I see that. That's with anything. That's any, like, you know, like sometimes even a conversation, but like, yeah, artistically, yeah, that's a big part, you know, part of stuff. And a lot of music in general is like nostalgia, you know, like, you know, when you hear something and where you were and like, you know, like what you were feeling at the moment, or, you know, coming of age, especially, like you hear something and then you hear it again years later, and you are literally taken. I mean, not literally, but you are taken back to that's time where you can almost smell it, and you can feel like where you were when you were hearing this for the, you know, at that time in your life. Like, that's very, very important. And we're very, you know, we're a species that really super like nostalgia is huge. I mean, you know, it really is like people love that feeling. That's one of the best, like, human sort of feelings that we all have, when you can sort of time travel, or you can, you know, in some sort of way, you know what I mean? Just like go back to certain moments and feel like tingly, like, whoa, this is like, I remember exactly, you, like I said, you can almost smell that moment in your life through music.
Yeah.
Kind of crazy.
Dude, I 100% agree with this. Music imprints on you 100%. Like that fucking, like going back to that, what we were talking about, the Weezer record, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can still see the posters on my wall in my bedroom, listening when we were listening to that for the first time, right? Like, I can take me back to that, the smell, the weather outside. Like, it's like looking into a diorama of a scene, right? Where that record comes on. Like, I played it the other day at work at our fab shop, and there's like grinders going and cranes and shit. But in my mind, in my AirPods, in my mind, I was taken back to that spot, right? Where I'm always taken back there, you know?
Yeah.
It's crazy. Your record collection is it's your brain on the outside. It's what it seems like, you know, like it's your memory on the outside. You know, I wonder if that would work for like Alzheimer's and stuff. People, you know, when
I would think so. I mean, I would think it would definitely help, like, to, you know, I would think so. Yeah.
Yeah. But like maybe not right now, but maybe when we're in that age where Alzheimer's could set in, putting on the Blue album, right? Say you're somewhere and just kind of watch your eyes perk up, like, holy shit, you know, like,
you know, it's crazy that you're saying this, because, so I'm sure you're aware of our bass player Chi, who was, who he, you know, died. I don't know how long ago it was now. I'm trying to think about years, but he was in a coma for a good 5 years before he finally passed. And we would go and we'd visit him in the hospital a couple times. He was on the East Coast, like in this sort of like recovery thing, and the way his like when you'd see him, he would be like, it would look like, I mean, he was awake. I mean, his eyes were open.
Yep.
He was definitely there in the room with us, awake, but was he there? Like, no one knew. So it was like a really, really weird, like, thing. Like, as far as like when you see him, it would be really hard to see him because like, you know, you'd want to talk. I mean, you just want him to give you a sign that, like, yeah, you know, yeah, I'm in here still, I'm fighting, and you know, I'm gonna admit, you know, whatever. But like, you know, it was really hard. So I remember one time we were there, and I was like, I'm gonna play him like some of his jams, and like, Chi, if anybody who knew him, whatever, like, you know, he's like one of the funniest dudes in the world. I mean, super spiritual, but like, and very, very, like, you know, a really, really good person. But like no one really, a lot of people didn't know like the funny side of him, like whatever, like he used to love DMX. Like, which is so not Chi at all. Like, right. Like if I told people that Chi was like one of his favorite, like music listeners was DMX, like people would be like, whatever. But like that fool used to love listening to DMX. So when I was in there, I was like, I'm about to play some shit for him. So like I played like some like, Toots and Maytals, some like old shit. He used to listen to like a lot of like, like old reggae and soul shit and whatever, blah, blah, blah. Then I was like, all right, I'm about to see if he's in here right now. I started bumping some DMX, whatever, to see if I can like
sirens come in.
Yeah, to see if I can like get a reaction out of him. You know what I mean? Because I knew he would laugh, right? Or I expected him to like just start laughing, whatever. But I knew that if he is in there, that he's going, that he like maybe he'll give me a sign or something like that, whatever. And I believe that he sort of like, sort of gave some sort of thing, whatever. I mean, obviously he didn't speak or anything like that, whatever, but like, kind of goes to what you're saying as far as like, with the mind and it being so like, whatever, like music having such a big impact on, like in my head, I was thinking like, man, this could bring him out of it, man. Like DMX might just like, he might just get up right now and start gigging with us or something. Like, I don't know, like, but it was just like, it was definitely a tough time, and I don't really talk about it too much, but music stuff, like that stuff is deep, man. It goes real deep. And with something like that, like I figured like, if anything, and even if he can't respond to me right now, he's hearing it. His ears are working. He was hearing it somewhere. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Wherever he's at, he's hearing it. So, so it's big, man.
Well, let me ask you this, and we can always, I can cut this out too if we need to, but I was not going to bring up Chi because I know it's been talked about probably a million times and it's an awful thing, but bringing up that state of mind. And so I lost my dad in September, right? He had a heart surgery that went bad. He was in a coma for 12 days afterward. He never woke up from it. Okay. But let me ask you this. When you were in the room with Chi during the day he's up, like his eyes are open, when you looked into his eyes, did he still look through you, or were you able to get to where, you know what I mean? Like a painting, you can look at it and they can actually look through you. My dad, I could never get his eyes were open the whole time, the whole 12 days. But if I looked into his eyes, he'd still be looking like away from me. Yeah, it was weird. Was that the same with Chi?
Yeah, it was the same.
Fuck. Oh, it's horrifying. And but I used to play, I would play, and this was, I used to, it was back in September of last year, but I used to play, I put on my phone next to him and play like John Prine and stuff he liked. And got nothing. No, and it was so frustrating because like, are you in there? Like, are you, and I just, the same thing, like at least he was probably enjoying that much of it, whether he could show it or not,
Well, that's exactly what I was saying. It was like, what you can't expect, whatever, like who knows, you know what I mean? Who knows? But I like to be optimistic. I like to believe that, he was hearing it and it was a good part of his day, of whatever he was going through. It, brought him something, something, whatever, that at least he knew you were there, or this, or that, you know what I mean? And I'm sorry to hear about your dad. I remember when I was listening to your podcast. This was when I was in Seattle, and you had just like bounced out for a while, and I was like, "Yo, what's up, my man Dewey? Man, he hasn't been posting no podcast for a little while." And then then you came back and then you told what happened, whatever, and I'm really sorry, that
I appreciate that, dude. I really do. And it was a rough go, man, but I had to keep some normalcy, and I came back and I was like, I'm going to do an episode. And Yvette, who I had on that episode, she was like, man, I wish I knew what was going on. I would have come up and played for him. Like, just play guitar in his room and stuff. I was like, man, that would have been amazing. And I put that episode out, and I think I went another week without one, cause I was like, it was just too hard, and
for sure.
But I understand, like, not a 5-year battle, but I understand someone you love being in that state. And that's why I connected there with that, because I was just curious, because I've only been through that with my father, to where I was like, man, I've never seen someone look at me like this. Like it was just like through me. It was it was crazy. And anyway, but I'm, that's crazy. I was in Bellevue at Overlake Medical Center right then. Okay. When it was happening. So, not too far down the road from you, but are you a religious person? Are you a believer?
No, not necessarily. I mean, I'm very infatuated with religion, all different religions.
Yeah.
You know, I'm interested in it for what it is. I like the ideas, or just like I like, you know, it just, to me, it's interesting. Just like a lot of literature, maybe, you know what I mean? Things to sort of like, you know, read about and to hear about, whether it's like the Urantia book or whether it's like, you know, anything. It's just like things that are like sort of interesting to know about, but I don't follow any sort of like sect of any sort. Like I'm not like when I was younger, I used to go to church with my grandmother, you know, and I never like really gravitated like to it where I felt like it made me feel any type of way or any different, you know what I mean? So, so I'm not in any way anti-religion. I just don't really follow anything.
I'm the same way. That's where with losing someone close to you too, you kind of see it's how people are. My whole family was religious, on my mom's side. My dad's side, not so much. So it was interesting to see how everything kind of transpired after that, and where people thought people were, and how people dealt with that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'm fascinated by it as well. Just the idea that it can inspire so many people to do crazy things and also good things, bad things, but
exactly.
it has so much power, you know. And it's basically just, have you listened to Dustin's podcast? We have so many mutual friends, but from Thrice at Carry the Fire that he does.
I haven't. No.
He talks a lot about it, and a lot of he basically talks to people from all walks of life, and ties in like whether people that are, you know, believers or not, or he has like a rabbi on there, or like a
is he religious?
Oh yeah.
I thought so. They did a tour, dude. He's actually, we've done like few different tours with him, whatever. But it's weird. Yeah. Out of all the tours, like I've never really like sat and had a conversation with him, and you know, I don't know. I'm not assuming that he's standoffish, but like he's never like tried to like really talk to me at all, whatever. And I was on the verge of like thinking that maybe he's an asshole, but I never really try to talk to him either. So like I shouldn't say that, you know what I mean? But I've spent a lot of time with him, but never really like, you know, like really grown close to him at all. So yeah, I didn't know, but I remember when they were on tour with this, I remember someone mentioning that he is like religious. What is he, like a Christian or something, or what?
Yeah, he's Christian. Yeah.
Okay.
But he's very. If you listen to the episode I did with him, just came out a couple weeks ago. He basically you just have to crack him open. Like he's very very stoic, and but once he gets interested in what's going on, like he really opens up. But it's the thing about his podcast is he's the one having to control the conversation, so it's interesting to hear him in that seat, right? That's the cool thing about it, is he has to keep things going instead of someone interviewing him. He's talking to these people and has to prep for it and all this stuff. So it's cool watching him take that role. Because you guys did a tour. You guys Rise Against and Thrice, I think, is what it was.
Yeah. That was a couple years ago, I think now.
Yeah. Zach's another person I reached out to when I thought this was a hoax. Zach Blair and Jonah. I was like, guys, seriously, am I being catfished here? Like, no, funny. You're not. I was like, it was the weirdest. Cool. It's funny. You probably have. Yeah. I don't know if that's happened to you before when you reach out to somebody, but we're just like, what, really? It just doesn't, you know.
I mean, honestly, like I'm not really big on social media. Like I rarely ever post on. I mean, I have my own Instagram, but it's like a private one, and I hardly ever post stuff. It's just like, you know, and with Twitter is the only thing that I think I have that's public. But I usually only just post like music links or stuff like that, like whatever. Like I don't never like have conversations, or like obviously I'm not like a big political person, so I'm not I'm not like sitting here trying to change the world on social media. I and I don't spend much time on it really at all. So whatever, but I actually like only looked you up on there because I, you know, from listening to the podcast, whatever, then I was like, okay, so this is his name. So then I looked you up on I looked up the podcast on whatever, right? Did I do it to the
Yeah.
peer pressure one?
Because I don't even remember the passwords to my personal ones. I never reuse them.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad you went to that one, because otherwise it just would have been like, hey, this asshole won't write me back. Oh shit.
Yeah. Right on. Yeah. And I'm sorry that I'm so like, sometimes I get like very elusive and I don't mean to do that, whatever. But like I said, like one of my main reasons why I'm not on social media is because like I refuse to be as like, maybe it's a choice of bad words, but like a slave to social media. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to like I feel like a lot of times, like once you, especially if you engage with people on social media, then like you're sort of like obligated to engage with them. And then when you don't, then you're an asshole. You know what I mean? It's like, so like I've never like, at least, you know, I try not to like, and it's not like it sucks because it's sometimes bad. Like I'll get messages from people a lot on, especially on like you know, through Twitter or whatever, you know, and people like will say how, you know, our music saved their lives or whatever, this or that, or just say like, tell me a story. Like their best friend died or something. This means a lot, whatever. And like, you know, and I'll be reading it and just like knowing to myself, like, you know, I'm glad they sent me this. This means a lot. You know what I mean? But like, you know, once I respond to one person and then don't respond to someone else, which I've learned in my life, then like, you know, someone will always find a reason why, whatever. And I just can't do, like, I can't open up that box, I guess, whatever, you know? So for the most time, I just like, you know, I do read, you know, I'll read, you know, some stuff and messages, whatever. I mean, most of the time people are super nice, man. People are really, you know, genuine and I really, really appreciate, you know, it, whatever. But I really hope that they understand that, like, I'm not, you know, thinking that like I'm just so busy. I don't have time for you. It's not that at all. It's just like there are really that a lot of messages and a lot of stuff. So I feel like if I open myself up to that, I'll just be obligated all the time to just like respond or to answer questions or to give, you know, advice or do whatever, where it's like, I lived my life for too long without like having a computer in my pocket and being, you know, you know, whatever. So like, I enjoy life way better. Like when, you know, in those years of my life when I didn't have a link to the world in my pocket, you know what I mean? So
sure.
I'm not anti, you know, technology, but at the same time, like I refuse to like let it sort of dictate like, you know, every single moment of my day.
Well, sure. That's what shocked me the most is when I was like, okay, I'm going to reply to this message. And then you wrote right back and I was like, what? Okay. Because I expected like maybe a week later, you know, because I can only imagine. My wife and I were having an argument about this the other day because not an argument, but she's been stressed out because she's at home with the kids all the time. I get to go to work. And so, you know, she's stuck at home. And I'm looking through my phone and I'm just like, I have 97 open text conversations in my phone. Yeah. I am a commercial plumber in Portland, Oregon. I am not in your situation where you have so many people at you all the time. I never take offense. You know, if I shoot a text and a week goes by or whatever and there's nothing, I take absolutely no offense to that because I can only imagine how many fucking text messages and messages you get a day from ones that, you know, have to be responded to, like from Taylor probably or whoever, you know, or Stefan or Abe. But when I shoot a text, like I don't take any offense, but I see what you're talking about and people don't understand that side of it. Like if you get off the plane at an airport and there's people waiting there with like 16 records for you to sign, you know, that doesn't happen to everybody.
Yeah.
You know, they can get off the plane and go use the bathroom or whatever, you know, they don't understand that part of your life.
And with stuff like that too, like I don't mind, you know, definitely don't mind signing stuff, especially if it's, you know, if it's not eBay stuff and it's like stuff you know, that people have had and whatever. And they really like, you know, it's when people have like 15 things and then like, you know, obviously I want, oh shit, I think, no, it's still going. I don't mind doing that kind of stuff. It's really like no sweat off my back. I don't like whatever, you know what I mean?
Sure. But that's like the in front of your face social media thing to where it could open up a floodgate, you know, like, anyway, but dude, I've had you on the fucking line for 2 hours. I don't want to take up any more of your evening. I appreciate this time so much, dude. And I know we've been working at it a long time and this has been rad. This is exactly what I wanted. At
some point we're going to have to like, you know, we don't live too far from each other. So, you know, we'll have to go out and do something.
Yeah. Get some lunch or whatever. I mean, I've been in Portland a long time. So if there's something you want to do that you want a recommendation on, or you know what I mean, like we can do that, or yeah, absolutely. I'm always here. So,
Right on. Well, man, yeah, like as I really appreciate your conversation. You know, I enjoy stuff like this when it's not so much like Q&A and just like, you know, dudes talking about music and stuff like that. So I'm down.
Awesome. I'm glad you enjoyed it, dude. That was my only worry, is that you wouldn't have a good time. But it's what the way I do it is the way I do it, and I have no notes in front of me. I never do, and that's the whole idea. Is just natural progression. So anyway.
Okay.
But yeah, dude.
Well, shit, man. Congratulations.
2 hours, man.
Yeah, and good luck with everything that you got going on.
Awesome, man. Yeah, keep listening. That's so sweet.
I'll send you this. I recorded my side of things into a microphone, so it might sound a little better. I'll send it to you.
Awesome. Yeah, just like a Dropbox link or something works fine, or whatever you have.
Okay.
Or did you?
Yeah, just text me. Text me your email, and I'll just email it to you. I'll email you the Dropbox link.
Awesome.
All right, dude. Cool. Take care, brother.
All right. Talk to you soon. Bye.
See ya. Bye.
All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed that chat with Chino from the Deftones. 2 hours well spent in my mind. I had a blast talking to Chino. We went over all kinds of things I'd wanted to know, and we just kept it real, which we always do on this show. The show is a conversation. It's not an interview. It's a conversation between two people captured on audio and put out into the world for people to glean from whatever they want to find. Hopefully they find something good. Hopefully they find something they enjoyed and maybe learned something or got inspired. I'm inspired by each of these episodes. This is my therapy. This is my, my beacon of light in the world. And I'm just so glad to have you guys back week after week. So keep your eyes out for a new Deftones record. They're mixing it with Terry Date right now. It's probably done at this point, but I'm not sure when they're going to release that. But that's been public knowledge for a while. But keep your ear to the ground for that. And keep your ear to the ground for a part 2. Once this whole virus thing is over, if it's over, we're going to get together and do another episode at the studio at his place. And so, yeah, if you have other things you want to know about or anything like that, hit me up, purepleasurepod@gmail.com. Hit us up on the socials. It's pretty easy to find. If you just type it in, it's going to come up. And purepleasurepodcast.com, the website. Send people there if they've never heard the show so they can scroll through and see what we have. I am so stoked to be here with you this week. I'm going to get out of here. Got a lot going on. But we've got tons of good stuff in store for you. And so keep coming back week after week, guys. Continue the path. And I'll continue putting these episodes out for you. And love hearing from you. Rate and review the show. Send it to a friend. All right, guys. I'm going to get out of here. As always, we'll see you on the radio.